Yeah, it was ugly, but a win is a win, right?
You are Locked On Virginia, your daily podcast on the Virginia Cavaliers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good day, viewers and listeners. I am your host, Big Law Lawrence Johnson, and welcome to the Locked On Virginia Cavaliers podcast. The first place to come to get your Wahoo fix every day as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. And today's date is 2/6/2023, and as I said in my cold open, it was ugly, okay? I get it, everybody. I'm hearing it from all sides, and we still won the game, deserved to win the game. It's just not as pretty as, a UVA game or something that UVA fans and viewers would probably think as satisfying, as what they would usually like to see. They beat Louisville 61-58. Louisville, of course, the abysmal Louisville Cardinals coming into the game 3-22 and only have won one ACC championship game, one ACC conference game. The difference was with this team and why they got close and why they played so tough. Their record doesn't indicate, in my opinion, how bad they really are. They actually are a team that are going to surprise some folks. I would not be surprised if they went on a little bit of a run and won 2 or 3, 4 games before this season is out. They gave Miami a hard time. They gave Notre Dame a hard time the last 3 games, and they gave Virginia a hard time. Now, do I think this is the norm for the Cavaliers as far as playing down to the competition? I don't think so, but one thing that, I love, my, my Wahoos. I love everything about, what they do as far as coaching and recruiting and bringing in talent and getting kids to buy in and play, this certain style that nobody in college basketball really wants to play. But to the death of me, trying to explain to people that, UVA is going to play this slow down style. And what happens is when you play this slow down style and you're not hitting and you're shooting 56% from the free throw line, you're limiting your possessions and you're shooting, 31, 32% from 3 during the game. A team can get hot and show you up. And just like their shooter who came in red hot, scored 33 points against Miami the game before, came in still hot, and almost cooked, the University of Virginia Cavaliers. Got by, in a game that they probably should have lost. Ellis was on fire, and I'm not saying that, it was destined to happen, but it's definitely something that I always revert back to because we get into these lulls and the pace of play can sometimes bite you in the butt, bite you in the ass. And sometimes when you're not shooting well from the line, from 3, even from 2, because we have that issue as well. We'll get into these lulls and these droughts of scoring, which I just cannot stand. One thing about this team, though, now that they're winning in a lot of different ways. They won the Duke game, previous game, based off of driving to the bucket, getting fouled, putting pressure on Duke in the paint and just scoring. That was a different UVA team than I'm used to seeing. Typically, they're shooting Jays. They're shooting mid-range. They're shooting deep. If they get a layup, it's usually like a one-off. It's a quick, cut to the basket, then a layup. No, they were making a concerted effort to get to the rim. Reese Beekman, we got to talk about Reese. I'm not sure what's going on with Reese, especially for this last game. And the game before, it was okay. He had a lot of assists, but his scoring, there's something off on his scoring. To me. But we'll get back to Reese. But this team and this, even during the championship year in 2018, 2019, on their road to winning the title, they had a close call against Notre Dame, I believe it was. And Notre Dame wasn't that good of a team either. But Notre Dame kept the game close, kind of like this one. And they had to squeak it out. UVA had to squeak it out. Well, one thing about it also, and you know this being a college college sports fan, on the road is such a night and day difference for these players. I guess I know why, because sometimes just being familiar, the kids tend to react better, play better, to being in your own bed, to, eating at your own, mess hall. And, just I get that part. But there's something to that in college football, baseball, basketball, whatever. And I think this had a little bit to do with that as well. Even though Virginia is a very, they have a lot of tenured players with a lot of experience. I think that played a little bit into it, for the guys that just felt like they were uncomfortable. Not to mention, there is a new deflate gate, okay, that is going around. If you watch the end of the game, you saw Kihei, as soon as the clock hit 0, run to the ball, pick it up, take it to Tony Bennett. Ben Vander Plas, Kihei Clark said that the ball was flat. They said they could push 2 fingers into the ball, like, they were given a flat ball. I don't know. That was really interesting to hear, and thank goodness that they won, because it could have been, I think, a lot worse, being that they're playing with a ball that is flat, and it's an away game, in Louisville, and Louisville's trying to get their first win, and I don't know. I just felt like it was just too many things going in a wrong direction, and I'm just glad they pulled it out, the way that they did. The midway point of the NBA season is here now, and it's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a new no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sports app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can even bet on everything from money line, point scores, and threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. Just go out there and check it out. Download it, because there's free money out there, even if you don't win, guys. Just give it a shot. If you kind of have it in your spirit to give it a try, to see if your hunches are true. Maybe you feel in your mind, or you feel in your heart that I could win this bet. I think I know who the scores are going to be. I think I know, if you want to try some of the prop bets. I know who's going to score first, and those kind of things. Try it out. It's definitely worth an opportunity to see if you can get some of that cold hard cash, because you win instantly. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go FanDuel.com/locked on. That's FanDuel.com/locked on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, on an official sports betting partner of the NBA. So yeah, everyone, I tell you, I got to thank you for listening to Locked On Virginia, making it your first listen every day. Make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place. Plus, hear from big news experts, insiders, coaches, and players. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. But back at it, guys. Yes, an ugly win. Ugly win, ugly win. For me, I was unemotional about it. I'm watching it. Excuse me. Let me take that back. I was concerned, but I was not spirited, I guess is the word I'm going to use. I wasn't spirited enough, about the game. I was kind of sitting there watching the game, saying to myself, all right, anytime now, boys. Anytime now, boys. Go on a run. Let's put up, 15 points. Let's go on a 15-point run, which they did get a 12-point run off, but then they went into another lull, and they went into just another period where they just did not score. We've got to switch some of that up. One thing, like I said, that I noticed, they started driving to the basket to try to get some points to break up the momentum from the other team. And I mean, Louisville kept coming. Hats off to them. They just were looking, their coach, God bless him. Danny Manning's on that staff too. I didn't even know that, but I saw him on the staff there. But God bless his heart, because he's just trying to motivate these young guys, trying to get these guys to play a certain way. But they almost, pulled it off. They almost could. If they could have got the game to overtime, who knows, what would have happened. I mean, UVA has shown the poise that you would want from a team with a lot of senior leadership, and upperclassmen. But, I've felt like, watching the game, I'm like, all right, any moment, guys, any moment, you got to kick it in. But 61-58, a win over Louisville. Louisville was ready to go. Louisville actually was up by 9 at one time in the first half, and but they just couldn't hold it together. But L. Ellis, that guy, he was shooting the lights out. In the beginning, I think he wound up with 20 plus points. And I didn't, I didn't blink. But good job by him. And I wouldn't be surprised if they win a couple more games. But UVA, let's talk about our Wahoos. They have won 10 out of the last 11 games. Now, usually when the team is on that kind of a winning streak, on that kind of a winning mode, a lot of times you wouldn't feel, your confidence would be high. You wouldn't feel really worried about, the next team. For me, I'm worried about the next team because we still haven't solidified everything. We're winning, and this is what good teams do. And I know maybe I'm a little bit of a worry wart when it comes to things like this, but we're winning in a lot of different ways. That's something, the Wahoos for the last 2-3 years, they couldn't win. They could only win one way. They couldn't win in multiple ways. If they were hitting their threes, they could win the game. They were playing, their regular, pretty decent defense. They could win the game. But there's something inconsistent about the team, but that's not always a bad thing. But that still doesn't mean it makes me feel comfortable, because it does make me uneasy watching these Wahoos play a game where they have a drought of 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Defense is playing pretty decent, but they're not scoring points. In the tournament, big time tournament, talking March Madness, that's where you get hurt. That's where it stings you. Where you're not scoring in late in the game, and your ball handlers can't get to the bucket, and you can't get the ball to your most important people, and they're sticking to you, and you're not hitting your shots, which UVA has a propensity to do, especially this year, not hitting outside shots. Now there's a new issue, and it's all in their head. It's all mental. They're not shooting their free throws, not making their free throws. Excuse me, let me clarify that. They're not making their free throws. I don't know if I've ever seen a stretch these last maybe 3 games where the University of Virginia Cavaliers are shooting this bad of free throws. Now, if you combine like the last 3 games, they're shooting 60%, a little over 60%. Awful, awful. Which for me is something that or right, no, they're probably right at 58. Yeah, just awful. Shooting free throws like this team is not a jump shooting team or a 3-point shooting team. So maybe the team is transforming right in front of us, and maybe I should just chill, lean back a little bit, and let it continue to morph into something that that we're not expecting. But like I said, 56% last game for free throw percentage. Kihei Clark went off, playing his best. I said it before, man. Playing his best basketball as a Wahoo. Shoot, Kihei had 14 points, 6 assists. Bennett Vanderplas, 10 points, 11 rebounds. And those guys are still sticking it out. Jaden Gardner played what he could play. Isaac McNeely, the sharpshooter. Kid is shooting, 50% from three, a little over 50% for like the last 4 or 5 games. They need to give him more shots. They got to, I don't know. And Armand Franklin, he's shooting as well, playing good, and like I said, I've been eating crow, for most of the year now because I was really down on him coming into the season. But, Isaac McNeely, the young sharpshooter from out of West Virginia, we have to give him more shots, man. This is just, he shoots too well. His form is too good. Another thing he's added to his game, he's driving to the bucket. They're coming out, and they're closing out on him hard. He's dribbling around these guys and getting to the bucket. I can just see his ceiling is high right now for ACC play. I see this kid coming in next year averaging 16, 17 points, making about 3-4 threes a game, and getting fouled. And I mean, if he gets his handles tight, his handles are not all that great. I mean, he can dribble, for an average guard coming up the court. But if he can get like a real tight handle, on the ball and not turn it over, because I've seen him create as well, off the dribble. We could have a young superstar in the making. And then I got to throw in Ryan Dunn, who is really turned into the defensive stopper down low. He can play some perimeter defense as well. Is really good at that. But what I'm noticing is he's playing a great game down low against other athletic big men. Something that UVA really hasn't had, outside of they just haven't had an athletic big man like Ryan Dunn. They almost threw him an alley-oop where he was damn near jumping from the foul line. Reese was throwing in one, but he got fouled on it. He just comes in. He's a highlight waiting to happen, man. Every time he comes in, he's running the floor. He's looking for an alley-oop or a big dunk, a big block, or something. So, but Ryan Dunn is a stud and a star as well. He'll be definitely a defensive stopper, defensive stud on a UVA team where defense is what it is as far as how important it is. That's just as big as being a 3-point superstar shooter for University of Virginia. If you're a defensive stopper like DeAndre Hunter was, and Mamadi Diakite, also another stopper on defense. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how Coach Bennett continues to deploy these young freshmen. So these guys keep rocking and rolling, man. But let's talk about Reese. My guy Reese Beekman. What's going on with Reese, guys? Have you noticed? He's is he walking around to me like he's a little ginger? With his walk, just his walk. I know he kind of walks with an odd a gait. His stride is a little, labored. It looks like he's hurting all the time. His shoulders are kind of up, and he's walking like he's, like something. I don't know. Take a look at it and comment on it. Tell me what you guys think. But Luis had a terrible game. Didn't score a field goal, shot some free throws. Didn't make any threes. I don't know. And he's blown some bunnies, or some close shots, against Duke. I want to say he missed three close shots right at the bucket, or layups, and just missed them. And he missed some for this last game as well. So I'm not sure what's happening with Reese. Maybe it's a concentration thing, and his 3-point shooting. When he was shooting damn near 50%, and fell off a cliff as well. He was like 0 for 2 or 0 for 3 from 3 as well for this Louisville game. Let's keep a look on Reese and see if we can try to diagnose, what we see. But let's talk about Deflategate 2.0. How about Kihei Clark picks up the ball, takes it to Tony Bennett, and the ball is flat. He says that and so does Bennett Vanderplas in the interview after the game. Says that it's flat. I wonder if they're going to do any kind of investigation or if they're going to just let it go. I think if it was going to be pushed, it would have to be pushed by UVA. And since they got out of there with the win, I don't think that they'll pursue it. But that's definitely something that they got to keep an eye on, because teams will try anything to slow down the better team. Like, just for instance, just give you like a football reference. I remember having a team that I played on. We were extra fast, real speedy, real quick and fast. And for some reason, it hadn't, the field was kind of soft and muddy. Like they turned the sprinklers on, a couple hours before the game, and it wasn't showing, like it wasn't puddling, on the field water, but you could step on the field and it was soft. And I was like, man, it seemed like they were just trying to slow down the speed of the team that we had, and the other team they weren't as fast. They were some strong plow horses, kind of a strong players, bigger, stronger players, but they did not have the speed. And it was like maybe they're trying to even the odds, and it was on their field. So maybe they had that kind of a thing going on with with the basketball, from Louisville. I don't know. Something to keep a check on. I wonder if there's going to be any more investigations into it, but maybe not. But that's something that we'll have to keep a note of. So let's get to the next game. Of course, Notre Dame. UVA plays Notre Dame at home at noon this Saturday. Another winnable game, but you can never say winnable when we're talking about the ACC, especially the way the worst team in the league played, and you can never rest. Maybe that was something that this team needed to wake up. Well, excuse me, they were awake, but something for them to be aware of, and something that when tournament time comes around, they'll know how to navigate that path even better. So Notre Dame coming in, ESPN noon, ESPN2, I believe. But they got Notre Dame, Boston College, UNC, Clemson, and Louisville for their next 5 games. If they can run the table, get to 25 wins, going into Greensboro with the double bye, maybe they can get a couple wins or 27, 28. I reiterated it. I'm looking for a number 1 seed. I'm hunting for that number 1 seed for this team. Just make sure you hunt with me, stay with me, because before long, this season will be over and we'll be wanting football season to come back around. Of course, remember, spring game is the 15th of April, and be ready for that as well. I got to thank you for making Locked On Virginia your first listen every day. Make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball, everything you need to know about college basketball in one place. Plus, hear from big name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. Locked On College Basketball available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you guys. I'll see you Saturday, and Wahoo!